have to do to be academically integral. And having posed this question, we managed to produce 100 pages of the guidelines, and we believe these are the guidelines for gaining success, and this would be joint success for both the teachers and the students, because this school is, or schooling process, this is the partnership of students and teachers. I'm happy to thank to the Academic IQ project and to all the co-authors of these guidelines, even to those who are absent today among us, but their contribution is very much valued.
And we have only part of authors today, so we are going to discuss those things that I believe to be most painful, or those who need to be highlighted. And today we have with us also Yulia Breus, head of department at Boris Grinченко University, head of the Center of Development and Leadership. I would like to ask Yulia, would you like to tell us about the process of creation and to share what you've studied, what you've developed, and why you dedicated a lot of time to this unit, how to get competences concerning integrity, and how teachers may contribute to the process of teaching of integrity to students. This is a practical aspect that will help to promote integrity from theoretical to practical level. Thank you. Yulia is given the floor. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. So first of all, I would like to say that this is a pleasure to see all the authors who joined this work. We are here, and we've worked on these methodological guidance for a long time, and this is a product in which we wanted to embody a lot of knowledge in order to make it useful. And I've worked on the unit that was already mentioned. I didn't want to be banal in highlighting this material. I wanted to show practical information in this unit in order to make it useful for our readers. One more consideration that should be taken into account. We had to highlight that simple things are working. They are not banal, but simple, and they form and they allow to influence the students. And about this unit. First of all, academic integrity is highlighted here as a complex of measures, actions, and this is about continuity and comprehensiveness. There are no ready-made solutions that would form this integrity in our students. This is our example, the example of teachers, of adults, of parents. This is example of their peers. These are cases that the students see around them. What we should start with, we should start with explanations. Students should understand what the academic integrity is, and there are mechanisms in each of the age group that may influence our students, and there are several points that show what information should be provided to the age groups. When I speak about complexity and continuity, I would like to say that we should work in cooperation with parents. Parents are partners, and we should coordinate our actions. We should not shift this responsibility. We should think and find those options, those actions where we, together with parents, may show this proper behavior we want to see from our children. And also, after explanations, I've said several words that the second stage is the demonstration. We should show on our example, by our behavior, what we want, what behavior we want to see in our children. Because if the right is violated, if we do not adhere it, children may forget about it. If we declare one value and then we fail to comply, and they will see different types of behavior, they will just forget what we were speaking about. They would just follow what we actually did. And we should support this good behavior. How to support it? With what words and actions? You may find this in our methodological guidance book. And about the value of these methodological recommendations, each reader may find the meaning there. There are vectors, there are guidances, but what words should be chosen? This will be done at the individual level. And there is important unit concerning the violation of academic integrity. If we are witnesses of this violation, and we said that when we see these facts, this is a good example, a good case that may be studied. What's wrong, what was done wrong, what should be changed. And here, we may ask students what they would do, what will be the consequences if they act differently, and also a question to teachers, why this violation happened, and whether we had such tasks or we didn't show the example or didn't provide some explanations, or maybe we've just forgotten about the rules and left them behind. So we've declared them, but we didn't adhere to them. That's why I believe that this is the main that was envisaged by this unit concerning formation of academic integrity in students. Thank you, Julia. You've also mentioned in this unit about online training, academic integrity, and this is one of the biggest areas that is emerging now, and it needs attention from teachers and parents and students, because online training that may be hybrid later on, and academic integrity is also a new challenge in this area. For parents, this is transition, and this is an aspect where they should understand how to help their kids to adhere to some rules of academic integrity. And I would like to thank Yulia. Also, I would like to give the floor to Yulia Bolovatska. He is chief specialist at the State Service of Quality of Education of Ukraine in Poltava Oblast. And she is one of the co-authors concerning academic integrity as a mirror of quality of education. I would like to give the floor to Yulia to briefly tell about this unit and also to focus on the aspect you believe the most important to highlight in this unit. Thank you very much, dear colleagues. Greetings from Poltava, from Yuri Petrovich. He is also attending this meeting online. So when we studied this topic and studied our work, I remembered about these principles of academic integrity when I studied at school and at university. How was it done? I've tried to remember. This was, for example, sporadic. It was done sporadically. Sometimes they provided this information during some lessons, and we couldn't understand what this academic integrity is and what we may do about it. And with the introduction of the new law on education in 2017, this is the new impetus for development of education, for improvement of quality of education, and this is about academic integrity. 70 times they mention quality of education in this law. Before, we didn't have this. And starting the reform of the new Ukrainian school that is based on the science of value and pedagogy of partnership. And this is the basis and pillar of academic integrity that we now embodied in this methodological guidance. I would like to support Yaroslavovich, because for me, academic integrity is about success. This is about values. This is about cooperation and tolerance. This is not just about cheating on exam. You shouldn't cheat or provide a quote about provision of quotes, but this is about daily work. If you get knowledge unfairly, so sooner or later you will be uncovered and you won't be able to get a proper job and be competitive in the marketplace. Also, I would like to say about such issues as institutional audit that is reflected in the first unit. This is external provision of quality of education, and we mention it, and also certification of educational workers. These are two important components of external provision of quality of education. Institutional audit, if we are speaking about procedural model, it is assessed in accordance with 4 pillars: pedagogical process, pedagogical activity, educational environment, and assessment by those who get this education. So this is about academic integrity. This is really important in external evaluation. If we are speaking about assessment of the activity of pedagogical workers, in the course of institutional audit, this is done not only by officials, not only by the representatives of National Service on Quality of Education. This is also done by the pedagogical workers, teachers. It is important to go to the teacher and see what model methods they use, how they work with children. For example, if deputy principal or principal will go to the lesson and will see this environment, the principal may also get some new methods that may be shared to others, with others. And also about certification of pedagogical workers. For me, this is a very close topic. We deal with this topic in Poltava Oblast. Recently, namely last week, we had an online webinar with our teachers who undergo certification this year, and we've asked them a question, dear colleagues, and why do you participate in this certification? What are your motives? For example, 20% raise of the salary, and this is about attestation, and they say we want that someone would assess us independently, some experts that may come and say how we work, how we introduce technologies of competence training. What I want to say by this, there is a request from society for objective assessment, and this is academic integrity. And I would like to say lastly that in this unit, we worked on some basic rules for principles of educational institutions, and this may help build internal mechanisms of provision of quality of education. This year, there are some models of quality school and examples of good results of institutional audits. And after this meeting, together with Ivan Yaroslavovich, we will present this guide to you. So academic integrity is about values. This is about relations. This is about environment that stimulates. And at the end, I would like to say that 2 years ago, I worked at the pedagogical university. I worked with teachers, and together with Yuri Petrovich, we attended their lessons, and we asked them, who wants to be a good teacher? And some people raised their hands. They said that they wanted to go and work in schools, and the reform of the school in Ukraine and academic integrity provides stimulus for those teachers who want to go to school and to work with children. That's why academic integrity is a quality school that works for success of every child and every person. Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak today. And dear colleagues, thank you for your cooperation. It was a pleasure working with you. Thank you very much, Yulia. And also I would like to add about important work of the National Service on Quality of Education. They worked in the process of preparation of these guidelines, and also that the state service, they do not only carry out an audit, and this is really important, as Yulia mentioned, but also they provide consultations and they help to implement all that provide quality of education. Quality of education is not something theoretical. There are clear criteria that should be adhered to, and you may, in this case, get high quality. And the students, whether this is a small city, small village, or in big cities, this will be the same conditions, like, for example, in Kiev. And state service and quality of education, and due to directors, due to principals, we hope that we will have high quality of education in the majority of schools due to principals, due to teachers in cooperation with the students and their parents. We have many participants in the educational process. We've mentioned 3 of them, but this is also state body. These are also state bodies that help and promote culture of academic integrity. When some level is reached and academic integrity goes from normative documents to practice, some culture is formed, and we will be able to correct some things, some mistakes that may appear, and quality education will be built, and this education and academic integrity will be built in one day, and schools will be supported by the National Service on Quality of Education and by academic IQ and other stakeholders who implement these goals. And I would like to give the floor to Любовь Терехова. She is the author of the 2 units in our methodological guidance. She is the head of the Laboratory of Innovation, Sense of Education at the National Center, Small Academy of Sciences of Ukraine. And I would like you to speak about 2 units you worked on. One unit is dedicated to understanding of teachers concerning academic integrity, how to implement it, how to understand those violations in the field, and understanding that each teacher should have this academic integrity. And second unit you dealt with is about how children participate in contests, having big experience in the Small Academy of Sciences. You really know this issue from the first hands, and also about academic writing. Please, Любовь, you are given the floor.
Thank you so much. I was becoming nervous in course of listening. I thought that my colleagues might mention all the things that I had wanted to say, and now I see that not everything was covered, and listening to my colleagues, I understood who we are. Integrity is a way, and we are collective pilgrims along this way. That is, we have to help other teachers and stakeholders to understand the process and to go along this way. We have very good procedures declared in our regulations passed by this public authorities, but those recommendations and regulations, they are written in very legal language, and our mission is to explain this in simpler words and to explain how to apply these regulations to everyday life. I believe that this is a good beginning for the way which we want to cover. And those teachers whom I met, they proved to me that they are happy to follow the way of integrity, but they do not always know how to do that. They need a guide, and we can be such guides. Thus, one of the sections which I drafted, one of them was about awareness on the integrity. Although it is based on the law on education, the teachers who would read it, they will not recognize the language. It is not taken from the law. It provides profound practical recommendations how to apply the law. Of course, it's good that the law has a very definite juridical language. On the other hand, the teachers do not understand how to apply that purely legal language to their everyday life. So when we read in the law that a teacher has to comply with the copyright legislation and the neighboring legislation. And what does this mean in practice? Not everybody understands, and that is why I try to explain and demonstrate this on some cases, on some bright examples. We already have best practices in the universities, even in secondary schools, but the poor knowledge about those best practices, it prevents from the broad sharing of these practices, and the life changes every day and sets new useful cases every day. And that's why when you go to Facebook pages like by Andrei Lyubka, when you look at the news bands in the news releases, you start to realize that there are many issues of academic integrity around us. The cases, arise almost every day. Here we have to overcome very broad meaning and common meaning that academic integrity, this is something which should be taught to children, while the teachers have to exercise academic integrity in their everyday actions in class, everyday performance in class. That is, academic integrity acts in two directions, towards children, towards school students, and towards teachers. And here we have to strengthen motivation to learning without real strive to get knowledge, the integrity. Academic integrity would not flourish in our schools. The same is true is about academic writing or beginnings of academic writing, and we have to act proactively and train children in academic writing based on academic integrity. Another my favorite section is about upgrading of teachers and upgrading of professional skills of teachers. The extension of academic freedoms has the adverse side, the wish to get as many upgrading certificates as possible. That's wrongful meaning. The main objective here is to ensure development, professional development of teachers, and academic integrity in this meaning could only help the teachers. the academic integrity encourages us to follow proper procedures and to do automatically those small things like indication of sources in each short presentation of material which you produce. Thank you very much. Thank you, Lyubov. I like very much your comment about academic freedom, that it has both sides. And we also work not only with teachers and professors, but with students, and they keep asking the same question: what does it mean to be integral? Have I to whistleblow about my fellow mates that they had copied the correct answers to the exam questions from some source, or what do you want from me? And we keep explaining that we have to develop the environment where all the students understand the rules of the game, and that copying exam materials, answers to the exam questions from different sources secretly without indication of the source is incorrect, and due to the environment, it will become possible to say that, to point out to a person who acted inappropriately. Only a favorable environment would allow students to comply with the requirement of integrity. And in a community which is intolerant towards secret copying, towards plagiat, etc., it will become impossible to act in a wrong way. We keep saying that some people can make a mistake, can do something wrong. People can do wrong things, of course, but this should be corrected. And of course, we do not wish to make pressure on people, but we wish people to become better and more honest. Now I would like to give the floor to Yevgen and ask you to describe your section. Your section focuses attention on evaluation. Evaluation is extremely important for each teacher's everyday work. And when there are distortions related to evaluation, this always becomes a problem. Yevhen? Thank you. Evaluation in educational process is quite an interesting thing. We quite often believe that the content of education is based on the actual amount of material which we wanted to present to students, what they have to cover, to memorize, learn how to apply, and that's it. This is quite widely used approach, and there is a common understanding that the educational content formation starts with the curricula or program of training. But recently the new paradigm was developed that evaluation is the primary aspect in the content of educational. That is, in the 11th grade, students pay attention at those four disciplines, those four subjects, which she had chosen as the for the international testing exam, and pays usually no attention to other disciplines or subjects. And this illustrates why I convinced my colleagues to include this section about evaluation to our guidelines. Actually, evaluation is a thing or a medal with two sides, with positive and negative aspects. For example, in the students in fourth grade are very frightened with the perspective of external attestation. Actually, it consists of two tests, and each of them should be not longer than 35 minutes, and the marks that children get for these tests are not included into the reporting documents. And actually this only shows how evaluation could be used as a negative and frightening thing, but it should be honest. It should be subject for open communication between teachers, students, parents, and other participants of the educational process. Evaluation also is related to the next stereotype or myth that teachers evaluate inobjectively, that is, with bias. The tests are formulated to check the basic knowledge, while while broader requests about evaluation like assessing presentation skills or assessing ability to analytical thinking, etc. This is about nothing. It actually only confuses the evaluation process. The next issue always is how to build up evaluation. And it's not easy for a person like me to offer the evaluation process for a teacher of biology, a teacher of history, etc. But we can rethink our general approach to evaluation. We should think more carefully about evaluation system which is applied by each teacher, how to make this evaluation system motivating for the students, how to make it integral, how to make it ethical, how Lobov put it. And in ethics, there are many references to the internal sense of justice, internal idea of justice, which is inherent in all human beings. And when you feel that something is done unjustly, that you are evaluated unjustly, you immediately lose motivation. At the same time, it is not so easy to produce the unbiased evaluation, fully objective evaluation. Also, I would like to point out to the second section of our methodological guidelines, which was developed by Ivan Shemalinets, who was unable to visit today's meeting, but this is a section for schools, how to develop the internal school regulations about academic integrity. Starting to draft the guidelines, we organized a Zoom meeting and invited school teachers to discuss the future academic integrity guidelines and ask them what are the most frequently asked questions for you related to the academic integrity. And we have heard that we need to know what internal regulations should we have to tackle the issue about academic integrity. So we took this challenge and we produced section 2 in our publication, and although Ivan Shemalinets is indicated as the author of that section, he produced his recommendations based on consultations of lawyers and other experts. And Perhaps the result of this work will look rather unsatisfactory for the school principals because it does not contain templates, ready templates for the regulations to be passed at school. It only provides advice how to produce these documents at school, what to keep in mind, what to point out, what to take into consideration, etc. And our major message in section 2 was that do not try to copy-paste the guidelines which are drafted in other institutions. Just like the academic integrity culture has to be nurtured inside the school community. The same is true about all the regulations, internal school regulations related to the academic integrity. You have to produce them internally based on your everyday practices. Thank you.
Lastly, I would like to briefly mention one more unit from the author, Mr. Mironenko. He carries out audit today. That's why he is not here. This unit is about monitoring and control. This is the integral part of the system of quality of education and monitoring of control. And this is about how academic integrity is implemented. And Yevgen told us about these issues, and internal documents, they come out of the need to regulate procedures. And this is about problem solving at this level that is more universal. In order to understand what problems we face during implementation, we need monitoring and control. Not in the meaning of assessment and evaluation, but control that will help understand what is not working and how to help. And Leonid speaks about why these things are important and how we may carry out monitoring and control in the learning process. And lastly, I would like to thank Ivan Hirchuk, who joined us today, and also I would like to thank Scott Whitmer, who joined us at the beginning of the discussion, and I would like to thank our authors who were not able to join us today. And we believe when we have proper conditions and opportunities, these methodological recommendations that we've presented for schools, and we present them during online meetings, and the centers and schools, they have online presentations with us, and in the future, in the nearest future, we hope we will be able to present these materials live for the audiences of schools, and we would like to thank you. Thank you very much. This is great pleasure to see everyone live. after this long work when everything was done through Zoom. And those recommendations that were developed and concerning academic integrity, together with Academe IQ and supported by U.S. Embassy, we hope that they will be the addition to the guide for principals, and this will be useful for teachers, principals. They will understand where to start and how to find the ways to establish this academic integrity. Academic integrity should be not only in the documents and on paper, but also this should be in practice as one of the criteria that is really needed, because academic integrity is the basis of quality of education. I believe methodological recommendations will help those who will read them. They will find their own ways due to these recommendations how to implement these things in practice. Thank you very much and goodbye.